Добър вечер. Добър вечер на всички, които се присъединяват в момента в вебинара на Catholica. Както винаги, изчакваме 1-2 минутки, за да дадем възможност на всички, които са попаднали в задръстване и се прибират сега по домовете си, да могат да се присъединят, за да могат да чуят презентацията. Преди да започнем, аз ще разкажа малко за Skylines и за това какво правим ние, за да мога не само да запълня времето, а и да бъдем полезни. Всъщност нашата роля е не само да организираме такъв тип събития, с които да ви информираме за възможности за обучение в Италия, но и на последващ етап, ако решите да кандидатствате в партниращите учебни заведения, а пък и не само в тях, и имате нужда от подкрепа, или дори и да нямате нужда от подкрепа, само да ви прегледаме документите, можете да се свържете с нас. Всъщност нашата роля е, особено на партниращите учебни заведения, да им съдействаме в целия процес по набиране на студенти, на заинтересовани студенти и в селекцията на кандидатите. Де факто ние сме нещо като техен офис в България и нашата работа е да съдействаме както на студентите в подготовката на документите, така и на самият университет в селекцията, предварителната селекция. Разбира се, накрая финалната дума имат партньорите от университетите, но ние можем да ви бъдем в помощ при подготовката на документацията, подготовка на мотивационни писма и така нататък. Всички знаете, че Италия е от една гледна точка много щедра към всички студенти, които искат да получат висше образование в тази страна, тъй като таксите се определят на база на семейните доходи и ако ученикът и семейството му нямат възможности да покрият таксите, се получават стипендии, но за да може да се класира човек за тези стипендии, трябва да подготви доста документи, което е свързано с бюрокрация. Нашата роля е да ви прекараме през този процес, да ви съдействаме и да ви разкажем как можете да минете по-безболезнено. Така че възползвайте се от нашите услуги. Те са напълно безплатни за партниращите учебни заведения, какъвто е и Catholica. Тази вечер имаме удоволствието Айша да ни разкаже малко повече за програмите, възможности за обучение в този чудесен университет, за всички програми на английски и италиански език, като моите колеги Катя и Елена ще бъдат с вас през цялото време. Ако имате въпроси, да ги преведат на Айша, така че вие можете да задавате своите въпроси в чатбокса. Катя, ако може, пусни едно здравей в чатбокса, за да видят всички участници къде могат да си задават въпросите. И съответно накрая ще ги прочетем и ще ги зададем на Айша и тя, надявам се, че ще отговори, както и всички нас, ако има и въпроси към самите нас. Well, Aisha, I hope you're here.
I am indeed. Wouldn't want to be anywhere else. It's true.
Thank you very much for being with us. You can start your presentation.
Thank you for having me. Okay. Well, hello, everyone. Before I start with probably the 50th slide that you're seeing today at some point, a lot of presentations in this period of time from all universities. So before I start sharing my slide, let me just give you my personal hello and introduce myself. I'm sure Dimitar did that, but just to double check, my name is Aisha Pathak, and I care to introduce myself as Bulgaria area manager, which means that Skylines and myself have actually been working for a decade, 10 years promoting Cattolica and helping students across Bulgaria to actually understand if Cattolica has something that could be of interest to them. Usually the answer is yes, which is why we have so many Bulgarian students in Cattolica. But really, it's been our presence in Bulgaria is really largely thanks to Skylines, and that's really to say, you know, it's such a pleasure to be here with them. Because to be in Bulgaria without Skyline doesn't really make much sense and has never really happened. So super nice to be all together. It would be great if we were in Sofia together, actually talking as I remember doing quite a few years ago. But okay, let's use technology, and I hope to at least read your questions or hear Katya putting through your questions and just make me feel like I'm there with you for now until the next time. So let me share my screen, which is hopefully smooth. All right. Can someone just nod? I can see someone just nod that you could either Elena or Dimitar or Katya. Can you just say, yeah, okay, great. I see the thumbs up. Perfect. All right. So there we go. So welcome to Cattolica's world, which of course in 30 minutes is a challenge for even the most experienced university rep to give you, but let me try. Let me try and get you to start thinking of conversations. So, of course, we are here to answer questions, but really my goal is to get you thinking which programs, why Italy, why Cattolica? Is it something that I want? Is it something I can go to Skyline's office next week and discuss? This is what I want you to start thinking. Get those questions. I want you to leave with questions that need developing afterwards so we can start the conversation. To join a university, doesn't matter where, is complicated enough. To join a university that is outside your country is even more of a challenge. It's an emotional and financial investment. So of course, we know it's not an easy decision. That is why we're all here to answer as truthfully as possible as all your questions. And really, it's all about the fit. Right? It's all about getting, it's not about the rankings only. It's not just about the university reputation, because that's very subjective. It's about your personal fit in Cattolica. Do you see yourself there? And why do you see yourself there? That's what I want you to think about for the next 40 minutes. All right. So what I've put is, oops, sorry, excuse me. Can you actually see the screen? Because I can see the sharing screen. Do you see even my 5 reasons? Okay, perfect. So sorry, my 3 reasons. I took my top 3 reasons why Bulgarians should consider Italy for higher education. Let's start from a very general topic, and then we'd start going down further, deeper and deeper into Cattolica, all right? So if you're following on an evening, you must be pretty interested because you have stuff to do. So why are you thinking about Cattolica? Is it because we're in Italy? Maybe. But why Italy? I mean, you could go to UK, you could go to any other country, really. I mean, if you're a good student, you don't have problems getting admission somewhere else. But why the country that you're looking at? 3 reasons why I think you should. First, Italy is a key commercial partner for Bulgaria. All right. In the middle of a pandemic, okay, in 2020, Italy was the 4th country for Italian exports to Bulgaria. Okay, you're probably, maybe for dinner tonight, you'll be having some imported Italian food, could be, all right? Obviously, it's not just food, it's even glasses as Luxottica, it ranges a whole different industry, okay? But with that is what happened in the middle of a pandemic. You can imagine when we're not in a financial crisis or a global pandemic. Likewise, Bulgaria sends a lot to Italy. Okay, we're the 3rd country after Germany and Romania for Bulgarian exports. So there is a very strong commercial relationship. How does this affect you at 18 or 19, or if some of you are postgraduate students, why should this interest you at 21 years? Because of course, regardless of the subject that you're interested in, okay, whether it is economics, whether it is international relations or psychology or medicine, the point is that the 2 countries, not only are they, of course, geographically close, but they have a commercial relationship, which means they need people like you that not just speak language, okay, so Italian, Bulgarian, English, but actually know the culture like you. Most employers nowadays, is not enough to have even an Ivy League university degree is enough to say guarantee for a job. You also need cultural like you, and no one can teach you that except yourself by studying abroad. So that's one reason. Second reason, similar to that, is Italy is a key investor in Bulgaria. Last research I did, we have just under 12,000 companies with an Italian investment in Bulgaria. So if you plan to stay in Italy and look for a job, or even if you plan to go back to Bulgaria and look for a job, of course you should target Italian companies. There are many of them. Those are the ones that want you because you're building a bridge between the two countries. Last but not least, cultural proximity. From what I experienced coming to Bulgaria several times, from what I experienced with students, Bulgarian students who actually even worked within my office after they graduated, I can actually see that we have a lot of common points when it comes to culture. We're not the same, and which is great, because if we were the same, everything I told you about cultural IQ would obviously die, right? Of course, it's important to be different. That's the added value that employers want. But having at least some cultural proximity will help with culture shock, because of course we are two different countries. Higher education systems are different. Teaching systems are different. So of course, if you can have a little less culture shock, then of course that's one less stress to worry about. A little like sort of game on myths and truths about higher education in Italy. Usually people close their eyes and think of Italy for tourism, but they don't actually stop and think about it as university. So well done for you for thinking about it as a university perspective. So in your head, let me see if we cannot have audio on, but I want to see what you think. So do you need to know Italian? I'm going to Italy. Do I need some Italian? Yes and no. For university, we have English top programs. No, you don't need to know Italian. Okay, we're going to test you. We need your English certificate. Okay, if you want to study in English, Italian, if you want to study in Italian. Of course, that doesn't mean that when you actually want to look for part-time jobs, and as a European citizen, you don't have a limit on how many, part-time job hours a week. And of course, you have no immigration restrictions when you actually finish as well. Of course, when you're looking for jobs and internships, Italian will mean you find it faster. Okay, so no, you don't need university, like for university education, but yes, for a general lifestyle, why not add an extra language? Of course, it's part of that cultural package that employers love. Studying in Italy, do you think it's as expensive as traditional destinations? Most of you probably have friends or family who've gone to the UK, to the USA, to Canada, maybe Australia. Actually, no. Even us, and we're a private university, Catholica is a private university, even with a private university, the tuition fee, especially for European students, tends to be way less compared to those traditional destinations. Maybe you know this, and maybe that's one of the reasons why you're following today. But if you don't, let me reassure you. Application process or costs. You may know for the Dutch university, there is one application process. For the United States, there's the common application. For the United Kingdom, there is UCAS. For Italy, there is not. Every university has a different process. That is why it's so important to refer to an agency such as Skylines, because they know which university, what the deadlines are, what they need. If you do it yourself, it can get a little complicated because there's many universities, and maybe you may not just apply to Cattolica. So always get support for that, because again, everyone has a different tuition fee. Everyone has a different application process. Location. Italy is not a huge country, but it's big enough to have different locations and different cities. And the where you go study does make a difference, especially when it comes to subject, internship, and career discourse. Let me develop on that. Cattolica itself is the largest private university in Europe. We have 5 campuses. You can see from the map that most of them up north. Milan, which is also my Zoom background, that's the Cloister Milan. That's where most of you will probably come, because if you want to study in English, that is a campus with the most English top programs. We then have Piacenza and Cremona, which are 2 distinct cities very close to each other. And that is where we teach mostly food-related subjects. Brescia is where we have 2 postgraduate programs in the physics area and data innovation area. And then for any of you that are inspired to be doctors and medics, which the world definitely needs, as we can see with pandemics, then you would be in Rome, because that's where we own the second largest hospital in the country, which is Policlinico Gemelli. Now, this is not just a geography lesson. The key point here is that Universita Cattolica teaches subjects that are related to the territory. That is why when you are looking, don't just choose Milano because maybe that is the one with the airport, or maybe because you have your friends studying in another university there, okay? It's one reason, but you should take it to another level. You should take to how does that city help me when I'm choosing my subject? If I want to go to Milan, I probably want to do politics. You may want to do marketing. You may want to do financial or economics programs, because that's the financial capital. All right, it's the commercial heartland of Italy. Maybe some of you have been to Milan. We're also the region, because we're so economics driven, we're actually luckily the region that suffered less with economic crisis, and we generate just just under 25%, a quarter of Italy's GDP. All right, it's maybe not as beautiful as Rome or as romantic as Venice, but let's say in slang, this is where the business is. All right. It's also the most international city amongst the Italian cities. So that is why, probably also why QS has always ranked Milan as the best student city in Italy. Just because of the services, if you want to go to cinemas and watch English movies, if you want to, most international universities are here. So it's just the international dimension is very strong here in Milan. However, Brescia is very close by. I believe it's just about an hour-ish with the train from Milan. Amazing, beautiful, beautiful city. Really, a lot of Roman history there. But it's a huge industrial, textile, strong, especially city. Again, very rich in terms of financial investments. And that is where the campus, there's a new campus in Brescia. It's smaller atmosphere. It's less, let's say, buzzy and chaotic than Rome and Milan. So if you are someone who likes that more calm, tranquil area, then that's something definitely to consider as well. And don't forget that you're still very close to Milan. So if there's a concert in Milan, or if you ever need to, when it comes to transport and airplanes, then of course, you know that you're still pretty close. Cremona is stunning. It's easily shot into one of my favorite cities, but also it's so rich with investment. It's the food capital. In Italy, there is the Food Valley, and this is something you can Google, Food Valley in Italy, and that is where we have an amazing new campus, very technological, despite being an old monastery. Okay, so there's this incredible paradox of old with modern. And this is where the agriculture heartland is. So if any of you are interested in marketing of food and food production management, this is where you want to be. Okay, this is definitely where you want to be. It's also home to the violin, if any of you are violin players, with the Museum of Violin, and generally a huge UNESCO heritage as well site. Piacenza is Emilia-Romagna, one of the foreign investments, highest regions of foreign investments. We teach some programs such as global business management there. It's smaller than Milan. It's cheaper than Milan. So again, you're still very close to Milan for, let's say, the glamorous part of student life, but it is, again, very much more closer student professor relationship ratio. The campus is slightly not in the center, which means there is more space, which means there are sport facilities for you. And that is where we teach a lot of the wine programs, because Piacenza and Cremona, again, are part of the Food Valley in in Italy, sorry. And Rome, what can I say? You know that Rome is probably, I would say, top 3 most beautiful cities in the world. It's an open air museum. It's the Eternal City, but that is where also we have, as I said, the hospital, Policlinico Gemelli, ranked #1 in Italy and 45th in the entire world as best hospital by the American news magazine News Weekly. So not easy to get such a ranking, and especially considering our involvement with COVID. You know, Italy was hit hard with COVID. Now I'm very proud to say and lucky, I guess, that we're one of the, right now in Europe, we're probably one of the countries doing best. Probably also thanks to a hugely large, we have 70% of vaccinations, but huge vaccination efforts. But anyway, the point is that our hospital in Rome did an incredible work during COVID. And in fact, our medicine program director, Luca Richeldi, was part of the government because he's a pneumologist. And of course, COVID hits the respiratory area. So there's a personal direct involvement between also government task force against COVID and Cattolica. Now, this slide alone deserves just a presentation, but I will try to keep it brief and relevant. Why Cattolica? I mean, you say, okay, Aisha, you've convinced me I want to go to Italy. I can understand that location is important, but there are many universities in each location, so why Cattolica? Okay, so these are the reasons why I think after 10 years, I have the pride and the energy to say you should consider us. The fact that we're private means, again, speaking to you very honestly, it means more budget to invest in services. And this is something that, whilst we are not like an American or a UK university, and I don't think pretty much hardly any Italian institution probably is at that level of service, for a national confrontation, for national public, if you want to look at public universities, this is where the difference is. Okay, by having your own country rep, by having an educational agency as Skylines that know what they're doing, by having full support when it comes to, I don't know, finding out about the application process. If any of you are non-EUs and need a visa, then the visa process. If you, when you come here and you have tutors to help you along the way, that's the kind of stuff that we're very proud of. We still have a long way to go. We're not perfect. But I have to say, compared to most Italian universities, even continental universities, this is where we've been doing this for 10 years with international students from all over the globe. We have over 160 nationalities across 5 campuses. So there's a lot of work there that we do. There is part of the Catholic tradition, the recognition of the individual. This is reflected in our way that we hope that you will feel when you talk to us. When you arrive here, international students are a minority, and that is why you also have more attention on you, let's say. And then, of course, there is rankings, reputation, and global network. If you haven't heard of Universita Cattolica del Sacro Cuore, it's about time. If you didn't hear about it before this webinar, you definitely should now. It is an Ivy League university, at least nationally, and internationally. We also have increasing recognition, and I'll share that with you before. So again, we're the largest private university in Europe, 40,000 students, as I said, about just under 20% or less actually are international students, but from a huge variety of countries, which again, if you want to study something like economics in an international perspective, if you want to study international relations, why not go to a university where you turn your head and you are surrounded by different nationalities, you know? We have a lot of options to go study abroad, which is something I'm going to definitely recommend in a later slide for you. And we have been working very hard over 10 years to get more and more English taught programs. Something I care to say, we don't translate an Italian program into English and say it's international. When we say a program is English taught and it's an international program, we actually have made a conscious effort to get visiting professors, to get, let's say, real international students from across the world to enroll, to really try and make it international, not just because of the language of teaching, but the actual experience of it. And that's something that continental Europe doesn't tend to do. A lot of universities teach in English, but that doesn't mean that they necessarily are international in their conception. And of course, if any of you speak Italian, I know there's an Italian high school, of course, also in Sofia. If any of you want to study in Italian, you have way more choice. You have over 200 programs to choose from. Back to rankings. We are a multidisciplinary university, so there are many different subjects that we offer. There are 12 faculties, okay? Out of these faculties, there's many different subjects. 14 subjects are in the top 300 by QS rankings. Now, if you close your eyes and you think, how many universities just in Bulgaria, just in Sofia, or whatever city you're following us from, how many universities do you know teach economics? Or how many teach psychology? Probably the answer is a lot, okay? Take that to a national level, take that to a European level, and take that to a global level, okay? To be in the top 150, top 200, top 250, or even top 300 in those subjects for a university is not easy. So by all means, use that as a reference. It's not the only parameter, but it is a useful parameter when you're deciding the quality of our education. One ranking I'm very fan of is, guys, we have to study for work, right? I mean, most of us are going to be looking for a job afterwards. So even though no university is a job agency, universities are aware that we are, let's say, growing students to think critically, analytically for the workforce. We are #1 in the country for employer-student connections. So we are like, I always like to joke, like a dating website. You enroll with Cattolica, we take the best partners relevant to your subject, and we play matchmaking. Now, of course, learn Italian, be proactive, go to career day. You cannot just sit on your chair and think, aha, the job is going to come to me. Of course, you need to do your part, but let me assure you the university does its part. All right. Those logos that you see are not the exclusive list. We have just under 20,000 internship agreement, over 20,000 companies registered. We have a career center, and a lot of, for example, if you come to do masters, but even on some of the undergraduate programs, there are often internship tutors that are dedicated to helping you find that as well. Now, with so many English top programs, let me just give you sort of a parameter of what macro areas we do, right? So this is the kind of visuals of what we offer in terms of subject areas. But let's go into more detail. If you're looking for a bachelor degree, so if you're 18, 19, and you're looking for, or even 17, and you're looking for your first degree, well, and you want to do it in English, this is the options that you have as of 2021, 2022 at this point. Communication management is focusing on food and fashion. So it is about communication management, but you will specialize. And I believe we're the only course in pretty much the whole of Europe to focus on that. It's not a coincidence. This is what Milan does best. And this is what Italy does best. This is our major export and area of investment and business. So of course, if you can specialize in only 3 years into that, and that's obviously a fantastic way to stand out. Okay, economics and management is super popular, especially with Bulgarian students. The first 2 years are exactly the same. In your last year, you will specialize either in economics or management. Of course, they're not the same thing, and that is why, again, on your degree you will have both, but it will be fantastic for you, an opportunity to understand before you go into a master's what you actually like and what you're actually interested, whether economics or management. Finance is our new program in Italian. It's been happening for forever. Like it's 100 years that the university exists. This year is a special year. It's 100 years celebration. Finance is obviously one of the oldest programs that we have, but in English, it's relatively new. And it's very exciting because it's one of the only undergraduate programs that has a double degree option to go if that's something that you want to consider, with Bangor University in Wales. So you have the option to do 2 years in Cattolica and your third year to go in Wales, and you finish with 2 degrees there. International relations and global affairs. If you Google, most politicians in Italy have studied either political sciences or law at Cattolica. Very strong faculty. And just so you know, international relations in Cattolica does require some familiarity with numbers and economics. So I'm familiar in the UK, for example, how international relations is conceived. There's a lot of, it is a humanities subject, but in Cattolica, there is a strong numerical component, because let's face it, most of conflicts around the world always have money and power involved. So it is important to understand economics if you want to understand the world and the relationships between the world. Psychology is wow, psychology is intense. In 3 years, you cover so many different aspects of psychology: clinical psychology, neuroscience, child psychology, organizational psychology. So it's not just, the classic therapist and the couch, let's say, figure that you're prepared for. Of course, you can go and specialize in that, but you could also maybe decide to stop and you say, okay, well, let me use my psychological background to do, for example, marketing, to do HR. Okay, it gives you that option. You're so young at that point that, of course, if you can have the option to specialize, or I should say, to taste different options to then specialize, well, that's a fantastic opportunity, considering that in Europe, bachelors are 3 years, right? In the United States, you have 4, but in Europe, you have 3. And that's not always easy to try to have one foot into experiencing different things and one foot into specializing. I should not have favorite programs, but I do. I'm human and I have favorites, and food production management is one of mine, simply because the world needs it. In 2050, there's not enough food for the world. Okay, that's just a simple fact that by the United Nations, and there's so much need to develop food sustainably. It's a fantastic challenge. This program is very science-based. It's not agriculture. It's not going in the middle of the, putting your plastic boots, your rubber boots, and going in the middle of a field. Not only, it is also about understanding how different foods can grow sustainably and the food production chain system. So if it is something that it's a very niche subject, but it's also one of the highest employment industries by far. The food area is the area that in COVID not only resisted, but it actually increased. We were all queuing, even in lockdown, for food. So amazing. If any of you are interested in that, I would love to have a chat with you, even in separately, if you decide to do that. Same for medicine. It's a very specific subject, of course. All right. And that is in Rome. As I said, we have the hospital there. Medicine surgery, 6 years, extremely hard to get in. Probably the toughest subject out there to study. Huge need for it, of course. We are top 150 in the world. So in Italy, we are the cheapest of the private universities teaching medicine, but we're the highest ranked, which is a fantastic, let's say, soundbite for you to take away. So there is a test to enter. So if you are interested in medicine surgery, let's have a talk about it in the Q&A or in a separate moment, in a separate Zoom, because there's a lot of information for you to take on board on that. Now, if any of you are following us for postgraduate programs, I have to do something boring, but absolutely essential, which is telling you that in Italy, but also in Spain and France, to be honest, there's 2 types of postgraduate programs. There are 2-year Master's of Science degrees and 1-year specializing masters. They're very different. Okay, and it's not just about credits. Of course, all of Cattolica's credits are completely recognized across the world. So even if for a bachelor's, you can obviously do a postgraduate program anywhere. And same if you would do a postgraduate program with us and want to carry on with academic research. But let's say that generally the 2-year is the full degree and it gives you access to do PhD because it's very academic. The 1-year specializing master is a professionalizing diploma and is more focused, let's say, on practice. You don't do a thesis, but you do have an internship. Now, does this mean that the 2-year program does not have an internship? Yes, of course it does. You must. Who doesn't need practical experience? But the 2-year will focus very much on theory and academic research. And it is very prestigious. If you want to work for government, you need the 2-year program. Okay. If you stay in the private industry, 1-year works perfectly well. But when you are listening to this, you have to think of entry requirements as well. Generally speaking, the 2-year program does require a bachelor in the same field. So if you're an engineer and you want to do business for your master's, maybe you have to consider a 1-year. Okay. Or if you're an architect and wants to do arts management, we need to consider maybe it's going to be a 1-year. If you want to change, okay, or if it's the bigger the change, the more chances it's going to be a 1-year. If you want to specialize in the same field, then it's going to be a 2-year. But of course, Skylines know this and they can guide you between the 2-year and the 1-year. So don't worry about it now too much. All right. So I don't have time. We don't have time, and you would be bored to listen to all of this. So for me, it's important for you to just give you the list of programs that we have. And of course, we can talk about it, talk with Skylines about each of the programs. There are websites, there are brochures. So there are ways to, of course, develop the content. Don't just look at the title, but of course, if you're interested, you have to understand what each university teaches in that subject area. So I've divided it by macro area. So as you can see, we do a lot in agribusiness. There is plenty when it comes to banking, finance, and data science. Again, I've put both 2 years and 1 year, so you can sort of really see the comparison there. And then, of course, communication and marketing. There are different intakes as well between 2 year and 1 year. So whilst most programs start in September, some programs will start in January as well. Let's carry on with humanities. Incredible the amount of popularity that our screenwriting production programs have. Management is a big thing in Cattolica. We have a sort of business school reputation. We do management in all its facets. So different specializations of management, from healthcare to luxury, to arts. Okay, we go the whole scope. So if you are interested in becoming a manager in a specific field, you definitely want to refer and look into our areas. And as I was mentioning before, political science. Political science is a big deal as well. Even things you can see as specialized as cultural diplomacy. You know, if you already study international relations, go a bit more specialized. Keep going, because this is at postgraduate level. You're not 18 anymore. You do need to specialize. And things, it can be as, let's say, as general as advanced global studies, or as specific as Middle Eastern studies. Now, again, if you were, let me remind you, if you want to study in Italian, amazing, please do. And there are plenty more programs in Italian. So let's say you're spoiled for choice there, okay? All right. Money is important. So let me break it down for you. Assuming that most of you are paying taxes in Bulgaria, it doesn't matter what your nationality is. Even if you are non-EU, but you are living in Bulgaria and you are paying taxes in Bulgaria, you will be considered as an EU tuition fee payer. So what does this mean? It goes according to your family income. Because we're private, we have a minimum and a maximum. Okay, the minimum is just under 4,000 euros. The maximum is 9,000 euros. And this is for both undergraduate and postgraduate. There are exceptions, which are medicine and surgery. You can imagine medicine is laboratory work. It's a very exclusive program. There, the minimum and the maximum changes from 7 to 16,000. And the one-year programs, they don't care where you're paying taxes. They don't care if your nationality. They have a flat fee. And this can be anything between 7 and I think 14 is the highest tuition fee. All right. Now, when it comes to scholarships, some of the one-year programs can offer scholarships, which go from 20 to 50% and are merit-based. Most one-year programs also have interviews. So that is how they sort of really assess. There's a different type of assessment. Instead, for the undergraduate programs and the postgraduate 2-year programs, financial aid is through government. It's government, the Italian government, matching with Cattolica's investment. The way that I said that we have more budget is because Cattolica, it's a huge priority giving access to education to students that deserve it and that need it. That is why there is something called DSU, Diritto allo Studio Universitario, for any of you that speak Italian. And I'm not saying this to be nice. I really mean it. Skylines are total experts on this. They know basically more than myself. So you are in good hands on this. But basically, what happens is you have to provide documents on your family nucleus, on how much your family is, or you are paying taxes each year. And they will come with a very complex algorithm. They decide, the university office decides if you are eligible. Out of experience, most Bulgarian students are eligible. If you are eligible, your entire tuition fee, regardless of what that tuition fee is waived. So you basically study free. Of course, you need to consider there are living costs, because that's only your tuition fee. You need to think about 10 to 12,000 euros per year for living costs. Okay. In some cases, the financial aid is not the word scholarships, it's financial aid that you get can cover also some food and some accommodation as well. But let's say that the majority of cases is tuition fee. All right. So whilst I certainly, say yes, submit the application, of course, get financial aid, it's my duty to also say, just in case you don't get it, okay, I will never claim that the university, there is no guarantee of getting it. And there is a lot of competition. You can imagine that all Italians have, the only option they have is this one. There are more international students coming to Italy, trying to get onto the same fund, on the same budget, okay? So as a general advice, yes, apply, but always have option B, because if you don't get it and you don't know this until you are here, you obviously, I don't want you to have to leave university because of financial reasons. So of course, only ever join a university, us or any other university, if you actually have an option B to finance yourself as well. All right. But okay, we stop here. You know that financial aid is available. It is complicated to apply, but again, there's very good chances probably that most of you get it. So well worth trying. Now, entry requirements. Let's say that generally each program has a different requirement. I will try to give the most common ones for you to understand. We need 12 years of schooling. Fine, perfect, because Bulgaria has no problem with that. Even if some of you are doing the IB diploma, American diploma, British diploma, Canadian diploma, it doesn't matter. Okay, these are all 12 years minimum, so you're fine. In Cattolica, GPA is not so much the priority as is the subject that you study. Let me give you an example. You want to do, for example, psychology, but you're a fantastic sport. You're an athlete, okay? You are amazing sports, but maybe, let's say you want to do economics. You want to do economics, but you're an athlete. And your mathematics is not so good. It doesn't matter that you were a key star player for us or you were fantastic in French, all right? We need you to be good at mathematics. For psychology, there's an interview. For communication management, there's an interview. So we look at the subjects relevant to what you want to study. For the bachelor's, because there's such a large volume of applications and really strong competition, GPA is also considered, but you won't find, like minimum this required, okay? Most Bulgarian students are very good students. There's a very low rejection rate. So, and Skylines know what kind of students are a good fit for Cattolica. So they will, I'm sure, without hesitation, be able to guide you there. But yeah, subjects is the most important thing. So look at every program requirement and see if you want to do economics and finance, we care about mathematics. If you want to do psychology, we care about the interview. If you want to do international relations, again, some economics, but we'll also look at maybe geography or history or languages, because that's more about international relations. If you do food production management, be good in sciences, I guess. If you're doing sciences, it'll help you. All right. Language proficiency, we require for you to provide evidence that you have a B2 level of English. Now, if you are doing, again, an IB diploma, A levels, if you are studying in English already, you don't need to provide a certificate. That's evidence enough. But if you are doing, for example, a Bulgarian national diploma, then you do need to provide an IELTS or a TOEFL or a Cambridge certificate. Okay, according to the level, postgraduate, undergraduate, this changes. It can be an IELTS of 6, it can be an IELTS of 6.5. Some masters even require 7.5. So you really need to check with Skylines and with our brochures and through our website and any way that you can what the requirements are. Applications are, everything is online, all right? If you refer to Skylines, you also have the application fee waived for everything except medicine, just because medicine has a test that you need to cover the cost that cannot be waived. But for everything else, definitely refer to Skylines. So at least you can save 75 euros and use it to have maybe celebrate if you get an offer and go for dinner with your family and friends. Then we have different deadlines. Applications will be opening. If you want to do medicine, you need to apply now. But for everything else, we are opening for 2022 in December. The date is to be confirmed. I'm expecting it to be by the second week of December, but again, you will be informed since you are participating in the webinar. We have your registrations, and Skylines will be one of the first ones to know. So keep in touch. We will definitely keep in touch, but also you keep in touch based on the program of your choice. There are deadlines. They're not meant to scare you. They're meant to facilitate you, actually, because the sooner you know if you've got an offer, the sooner you can start preparing your life and moving over and spending time on your final university or high school exams, to be honest. I'm not saying it to be cool. I'm being really honest. Competition on some programs is really tough. We have very small classes, which is one of the key points. It's a strength. Now you might think it's a problem because you're thinking, I want to get in. But actually it's really cool when you're in, because it's not having 300 people in class. Some classes can be as small as 70 students for a bachelor degree. That's really quite exceptional. Even the specializing masters are very small. So if you are interested, apply early. It's obvious that we haven't allocated any spaces. So the sooner you apply, the higher the chances of getting in. All right. So definitely look out for deadlines. So if we open in December, let's say the following deadlines are usually January, February, March, and April. I don't recommend going beyond March, to be honest. We are now in end of November. There's no reason to wait. What you should do is get in touch with Skylines to understand if you need to sit for your IELTS, if you need to sit for an SAT, if there are extra exams that you need to do, then use this time to get all of that prepared. All right, this is the best advice I have for you. Just an example of the student services that we have: International Student Center, of course, student associations, language support, libraries, etc. Accommodation is a big thing, obviously. So in terms of accommodation, some campuses have it on campus accommodation, such as Piacenza and Rome. Some of them don't, but you are never abandoned. No one is sleeping under the bridge. We have websites where we have accommodation providers that you can refer to. I'm nearly towards the end, and no, I can see there's a lot of questions here. Travel the world, keep moving. Internship, tailored internship, language programs, scholarship opportunities to do your thesis abroad. We have over 500 partner universities. Some of them are Ivy League, US, UK. So keep moving. Some of them are free, like the Erasmus. Some of them are on payment, like double degree options. But keep moving. The more international the experience, the better for your CV. Finally, keep in touch. You have Skylines details. You have here now on the screen my details. You'll be hearing from me as well in the coming days as I follow up for the webinar attendance. Again, this is just to keep the conversations opening and going. So feel free to ping me at any point. And if any of you require a personalized Zoom call, we can do this. We can get this organized. And now I see 36 chats. So I will end here, and I would say, let's use the time for Q&A.
So Aisha.
Hello, hello.
There are many questions. Some of them we were able to answer. Some of them you answered with the presentation.
Good.
But we can try reading through them and see, are there any that are left unanswered?
Perfect.
The first one was, if there are English programs for postgraduate education in medicine. I answered that actually medicine is a 6-year.
It is. After medicine, there is usually specialization to do. And so far in Italy, most of, not just in Cattolica, but most universities, if not all, have specializations in Italian. So it really depends what you want to do. Do you want to go to the States? Do you want to go to the UK? You want to go back to Bulgaria? you know, it depends what you want to do afterwards. But if you want to do specialization in Italy, maybe in 7 years' time, in 6 years' time, it changes. But right now, it's mostly all in Italian.
Italian, yeah. There's a question about the English taught program in psychology.
Yeah.
It has been answered, yeah.
Perfect.
There's one question, can I apply if I'm 17 years old?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you can even join university at 17. There is a process to do regarding legal guardianship that we can, you know, we help you in a second moment. Like, I'm sure it's a specific case, but yes, you can apply at 17 and you can even enroll at 17.
Yeah. And then, is there a law program in English?
No, I'm afraid
I
not.
don't
There's
think
only in
so.
Italian, 5 years.
Yeah. Regarding entrance exams, you also explained, but maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, entrance exam. So there's the entrance test for medicine. It's not the IMAT, which is what most Italian universities do. It's our own test. That's why we have the luxury of doing it in a different time period. And we do this in April, 6th and 7th of 2022 of April. That's when we're doing it. There you have to go to a test center and close to you. On the application form, there's all the different cities that we have this option. And it's basically 65 questions in 65 minutes. So pretty tough. And you have biology questions, physics questions, chemistry questions, maths, and psychoattitudinal questions as well.
There's a question, when does the application process for communication management begin? It's
everything that starts in September 22, like communication management, will open in December.
Yeah. The deadlines again, if you apply
if you
in
go on our
December,
website, you will be able to see in December we're updating the website, but roughly it will be something like just towards the end of January, February, March, and April.
Yeah. There's one question from Alexandra. I'm 15. Do you think much will change until it's time for me to apply to university? Maybe like in 2 or 3 years. Who knows?
Maybe there's going to be more stringent entry requirements, because the more we go on, the more applications, the higher the quality. It's getting really competitive. I think it's only going to change for the better. I think the university is investing more and more in this area. All of Italy is really trying to improve its international student services. So I don't expect major changes, like completely everything that I said to you today, you have to throw. I don't think so. But I do think it's going to change for the better. I see the direction is very encouraging.
Yep. And a question from Martin. If I have 2 diplomas, an American one and a Bulgarian one, which one should I apply with? Can use both?
You don't choose what to apply. You have the transcripts on your school your school transcripts will say that he or she has American diploma and Bulgarian diploma. We will probably consider the Bulgarian diploma because American requires 3 advanced placements, APs. And if you're not doing those, you cannot enroll. So probably we can hopefully do, if your teaching is 100% in English, we can try and use the American diploma for you to avoid the IELTS or the TOEFL, but you have to probably use the Bulgarian diploma to enroll. But this will be seen once you submit the application.
Yeah. There's Marina, who already has a Master of Law.
Okay.
And is asking more information about law programs.
We don't do law programs like pure law. We don't have a law school, but there are programs that touch on law. So any of our management and business programs will do like commercial law, business law, transnational law. Our political sciences do, of course, basics of law in terms of immigration. So if you're looking for pure law, no, especially in English, this is not the right place. But if you're happy to specialize into something else, with some law inside, then yes, you can definitely look at our postgraduate brochure or website, and I'm sure Skylines can help you with that.
Cool, yeah. Are exams such as SAT or IB needed to apply?
IB is a diploma, it's not an exam. So IB, if you're doing the IB diploma, fine. If you're not doing the IB diploma, that's fine too. As long as you have a diploma from, that's what matters. If the SAT is useful if you are, it's necessary if you're not doing maths in school. But usually most students, especially wanting to do economics, are doing maths in school. If you want to have an extra push, or your school grades in maths are not super strong, you think, then the SAT can be an option, but it is not required unless, you know, you're completely absent of maths, for example.
Yeah. And Aisha, there is one more complicated question.
Okay.
Of a student who has already been accepted. I'm not even sure that you're the one who should answer this question, but it's Anna Patronova. So
it's international business online. I think I spoke to her few weeks ago. Yeah.
And she's saying something about she didn't have her diploma when she applied. She graduated in Germany, and last week she received her diploma, but Cattolica wants the German university to send the diploma instead of her. She's wondering why can't she send the diploma? And it should be the German university.
It's the admissions officer. I think you've been talking to Serena. So it's a legitimate question. Good that you're asking it. I would suggest that you reply to the admissions office asking for it.
Yeah, of course. Now, what documents and exams do I need to apply? Questions like this, students can just email us. And
absolutely, it's really quite simple. It really is. Generally speaking, if you're applying for a bachelor program, we need your high school transcripts of ideally the last year, because you have to apply when you're in your final year of school. So whatever you had last year, and ideally even the year before, but definitely the last year. We need your passport or ID card. We need, if you need a proof of English, then proof of English. And what else? If you're applying for postgraduate, we need all of that, like your bachelor's transcripts with also your CV. And roughly that. Oh, and of course, motivation letter, huge thing. Motivation, why you want to come and study at university. We don't need reference letter for undergraduate. We do need reference letter from a professor at postgraduate.
Yeah. And there's some questions that repeat, like what do I need to apply for economics and management program? It's the
guys,
same.
all this is really on the website. Skylines know this, so it's all very literally, you can just Google it right now. I mean, everything on the website is getting updated in a few weeks time, but it's mainly transcripts, passport, and English certificate. Those are the and motivation letter. Those are the basic documents.
Yeah. It's an interesting question regarding athletic scholarships. Are there any?
Such an American thing. I have never heard in Italy anyone do that. So no, at least definitely not in Cattolica. The only financial aid that you would have is the government with the university matched one that I was saying before, DSU. And if you're applying for a 1-year specializing master, then possibly a merit-based scholarship. But other than that, no.
Theodore is asking, is there any possibility Cattolica opens before the second week of December? I guess she's talking about the application.
Wow. If there is, I would love to know because I don't know. I mean, don't worry, because if we do, imagine the world goes crazy and we open in 2 days time, you will receive an email because we have your email. So the important thing is to leave your email or tell Skylines to give your correct details, because we send out an email to say everyone, hey guys, Catholica has finally opened. So there is a very slim chance, but I don't expect it. I'm gearing towards the next at least 2 weeks, 3 weeks time.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you should wait to start talking about your application. Of course, use this time to gather the documents and get everything ready so that when the moment is right, it takes you 10-15 minutes to just upload and go.
Exactly. More about GPA for psychology, but you already talked
there
about
isn't.
GPA.
You need a good academic standing. I mean, I have a reference point. If you're, for example, doing the IB diploma, we kind of really need it. 31 points minimum as is an average, but it's not GPA focused as much. No, there is an interview instead.
Yeah. Can I transfer to Rome to finish my medical education if I'm
medicine transfers anywhere in the world are super difficult. The key answer is it depends. It depends year upon year, and I don't know the answer, because every year there can be transfer options for EU or for non-EU, and we don't know because it depends who sort of withdraws from the program or decides not to attend for the program, and I don't know who's not going to attend next year. So usually there is. I think this year we had 1 or 2 only EU spots because our retention rate is very high. So yeah. You have to look in June every year to see if there have been places opened up, and in what year, 2nd year, 3rd year, or 4th year. But yeah, transfers are extremely complicated, very, very complicated. And if anyone is, by the way, you know, when someone asked about medicine postgraduate study there, and I said no because of specialization. If you decide to stop in the medical area after 6 years of medicine, there is another very exciting area which is slightly related, which is healthcare management. It's the management of healthcare. Of course, hospitals don't need just doctors and nurses, but they actually need someone to manage them. So that is one postgraduate option. Yeah.
So I'm trying, because there are many questions, not to read all of them. If anyone has a question that hasn't been answered, please just email us in the next days.
Indeed.
Yeah, because probably we won't be able to answer absolutely all the questions.
I guess you must be getting hungry at this stage as well of the evening.
Could be.
Could be.
Yeah, I'm just reading through them to see if there is something radically different.
Sure.
For example, if I have a diploma from an English language school, do I need to take an English exam?
I'm not sure what you mean by English.
Exactly.
That's okay. If your diploma is entirely, I mean, if you go to school every day and study 100% in English, then no. But if you went to an English language school and got a diploma and it's not IELTS or TOEFL or Cambridge, then and if you're applying for an undergraduate or a 2-year program, then yes, you do need it. The 1-year masters are more flexible because they have an interview, so they don't actually need the certificate. They do interviews instead.
There's one question that the girl is repeating it in the Q&A section, so apparently it's very important for her, but can you tell us more about the restoration and conservation programs and its insurances? I don't know.
We don't have a program, at least in English, not like that. So yeah, I'm afraid that's not.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe again, email us with such questions so that we can research, see what we can offer. Or is there an exam related to admission to a dormitory or an interview?
It depends if it's the university one. I believe there is, but it's not the one that we advise, to be honest. It's not international student friendly. That is why we prefer to say, listen, go through the accommodation providers that do that for the job. like all the international students in the cities, you know, they have these providers, and we have a full list. And I'm sure Skylines also have been sending students so much to Italy. They also know maybe others that are not on the list. But yeah, no, these providers, it's a simple rent. Hey, this is the contract, pay the first deposit, and that's it.
Yeah. What English certificate do you prefer?
It's not what we prefer, it's what we require, and each depends on the program. So you need to check for each program. Usually, of course, TOEFL, IELTS, and Cambridge are always welcome. We don't accept Pearson's, that for sure.
This is an interesting question. How many students usually are in lectures in Cattolica? Can we ask the professors questions? Is there a personal attitude to each student?
You must ask questions. I don't think that's an option. Definitely ask questions when there is question time. Obviously, don't interrupt the professor, but that's general good manners for anything, even if you're going with friends for dinner, I guess. But the class size changes upon program. So medicine and surgery, they are 80 students only. For economics and management, you're 240. So it really depends on the program. So if you get in touch and you tell us which program you're interested, we can give you a class size. As I said, they're generally much smaller than, say, or at least slightly smaller than other, at least public universities, for sure.
Do you have exchange programs?
We do, plenty.
Plenty.
So yes.
And Dennis is asking, I have a bachelor degree in graphic design, but for a master's degree, I'm looking for something else, perhaps related to the sphere of art. What opportunities can my diploma open in your university?
I think you could be a good candidate for arts management, which happens every January. So a bit too late for this year, but January 2023. That sounds a very good option for you. So go to Skylines, check, or start checking the website, see if the program interests you. But it's called arts management, and yeah, it's more open to a wide variety of backgrounds.
Cool. If you have a double citizenship, Bulgarian and American, do we need to provide language proficiency certificate?
So let me give you an example. In Brazil, 1/3 of the population has an Italian citizenship, but can't even say hello. So it depends. It really depends. I can't feel I answer this. Like logic says no, but they will need some sort of proof that you actually speak. Because if you were living in the United States, then we know, okay, of course, you're living in the States and you're using English. We don't know how much American you've used in Bulgaria. So, Americans are of English. So go to Skylines and see, because let's see what your diploma is. If you're doing the American diploma, no. If you're doing the IB, no, for sure. Maybe you're applying for a bachelor's, for postgraduate. So I don't know what you're applying for. I don't know what the school you're going to, but just bear in mind that just because one has a passport doesn't necessarily mean they're fluent enough. So we just need some sort of evidence there. It's a very specific case, so well worth talking with Skylines.
I can see also that Karina asks 2 times maybe already if she can study at the age of 15, and you must have at least 12 years of schooling. So
correct. Yeah, no, 50, we don't do, unfortunately. It would be great in the future, but so far we don't have summer schools or anything for, let's say, for students that are not at university. So usually when you start university and you've done 12 years of schooling, you're either 17 or 18. And I saw the person who was asking about arts management, graphic design bachelor. The program of arts management is every January. So it's also happening January 2022, but the applications are closed. That's why I suggest getting in touch with Skylines for January 2023. That's why.
Well, I think we need to release Aisha to to go home and see her friends and family. That's why, well, thank you very much, Aisha, for the great
Thanks to you. Thanks to you all. And thanks for listening. I mean, it's dinner time for you guys because of course you're an hour and ahead. So I appreciate, maybe your stomach is rumbling, but you all made the effort to follow. So great questions. And thanks to the Skylines team for always organizing this.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. I will say a few words in Bulgarian just for the public to be aware that we will send a follow-up email.
Absolutely.
Да, благодаря ви на всички, които останахте до този час за тази презентация. Още веднъж, ако не е станало ясно, ние ще изпратим един имейл на всички, които са се регистрирали с важна информация. Освен това, самия факт, че сте се регистрирали за вебинара, ще ви даде възможност да получите първи информация, кога се отваря application call, какви са необходимите документи, какво трябва да подготвите, полезна информация и така нататък. Така че следете имейла си и ще получите отговор на почти всички тези въпроси, които сега зададохте на Аиша. И ако не е било отговорено на тях, след това по имейл ще можете да зададете въпросите си или да ви организираме лична среща, за да може да отговорим на всеки един от тях. Once again, Aisha, thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening and we'll be in touch.
Thank you very much. Take care, everyone. Stay safe.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Bye.